weekdays from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for the talk of the town. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. Here they come, y'all. Here they come.
It's just me against the world. Me against the world, baby. I got nothing to lose. It's just me against the world. Me against the world, baby. Can you picture my prophecy? Stress in the city, the cops is hopping me. The project is full of bullets, no bodies is dropping. There ain't no stopping me. Constantly moving while making millions. Witnessing killings, leaving dead bodies in abandoned buildings. Carries the children cause they're illin'. Addicted to killing and the appeal from the cap villain. Without feeling, but will they last or be blasted? Hard-headed. Maybe you'll listen in this casket, the aftermath. More bodies being buried. I'm losing my homies in a hurry. They relocating to the cemetery. Got me worried, stressing my business blurry. The question is, will I live? No one in the world loves me. I'm headed for danger. Don't trust strangers. Put one in the chamber whenever I'm feeling this anger. Don't wanna make excuses, cause this is how it is. What's the use unless we're shooting? No one notices the youth. It's just me against the world, baby.
Me against the world.
It's just me against the world.
KBLA Talk 1580. That's you and me against the world. But we're built for this. We can do this. I am very pleased to unpack all that is going down in America right now, its implications for the world, the black community, as it were, and certainly the United States of America, with one of the brainier folks I know. She is the editor and publisher of the Los Angeles Progressive. She's former president of the Guild Law School, and she's formerly actually a member of several space flight teams at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, meaning literally rocket science. She also sits on several boards, including the board of directors of the ACLU. Sharon Kyle, welcome.
Hi there, Dominique. How are you?
Well, I'm blessed. How you doing?
I know. I'm blessed too. And I have to admit something to you. You reached out to me and asked if I would be a guest on your show this morning following the inauguration, and I accepted that invitation gladly. And then I promptly forgot. And so yesterday, during the inauguration, I said to my husband, I want to have a Trump-free day.
Oh.
So I chose not to watch the inauguration. And then we were reviewing our calendar for today, and he says, "Oh, you're going to be on KBLA tomorrow morning." And I said, "Oh, no.
I ruined your Trump-free day.
Inauguration."
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So I watched it.
Oh, I ruined your Trump-free day. I owe you one. I owe you a vegan dinner or something else that would deeply disturb the president-elect.
Oh, boy. Okay. What a day.
Well, let's start with something that's kind of refreshing. The ACLU, of which you are a part, is already suing the Trump administration.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about
Absolutely.
that. Let's start there.
Right. Yeah, and I'm excited about that. I mean, we know from 2016 when Trump came into office and immediately issued that the ban on Muslims, that the ACLU already had a package. What the ACLU did during the Trump campaign season was they took note of all of the things that he said that he was going to do that the ACLU felt could be challenged in the courts. So they were prepared. They had already done some analyses on these various promises that he had made. And immediately, the first thing that he did, which the ACLU, they filed on him within an hour, I think, because they had already prepared everything. And there were attorneys across the nation at airports volunteering their time to provide legal services to these people who were flying in from countries where they have a high concentration of Muslims. And they successfully got an injunction. Ultimately, for reasons that I am not completely clear, Trump continues to prevail in a lot of these legal situations. Yep. And I have my theories about what's going on. Why is it that he keeps winning? For the longest, I've said we don't have two parties. We don't have a Republican Party and we don't have a Democratic Party. We have this duopoly, and it's sort of like good cop, bad cop. But until the masses of people really do a deep dive and have an accurate analysis of what's happening to this country politically, because we are going in a direction, and it is in a direction away from democracy. If we were ever at any time close to democracy, we certainly are eons away from democracy right now, and it's going to get worse. But it will never change unless the people demand it.
So this lawsuit is starting with the birthright citizenship, which I have been tracking as one of their goals since his first presidency, because what it means is that if you were born in this country, you would no longer automatically be a citizen. And, I think that actually, believe it or not, has implications for black people, too. I who are U.S. citizens. You may think that's a stretch. I don't. This is what the ACLU is suing over. And I'm assuming it's because that's in the Constitution, and you can't just, mark up the Constitution via executive order. Let's cross out this line and delete that line.
Absolutely. So basically what it appears to me that Trump is doing is he's showing complete disregard for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. These are the amendments to the Constitution that were enacted as a result of and after the Civil War. And so that's where birthright citizenship came in. What was challenged was that slaves could not be citizens because they were black. There was no mention of birthright citizenship until it was challenged, until we had those amendments after the Civil War. So I think this is a signal specifically and importantly that black people understand this. It was because of us that birthright citizenship even became a thing.
Right, because of the desire to deny our citizenship. And if the administration somehow would prevail, it's all bets are off with this Supreme Court. I don't know that it's going to go well for us if Trump or his MAGA, legacy gets to decide who are citizens and who are not, based on their random designation rather than the fact that you were born in this country.
Yes, I agree. I think that this is one that's going to be in the courts for a while because it is such a foundational precept after the Civil War. And like I said, it amazes me that Trump has prevailed, although there has been somewhat of a shift. Amy Coney Barrett has been showing some indications that she wants to give some of her previous thoughts, give them a second thought. It looks like she's leaning more toward the more reasonable justices. So we'll see. But I think that this birthright citizenship challenge is going to take a while. But there are some things that, that he's going to be doing immediately, like the environmental issues. He kept talking about burn, baby, burn. Well, that has ramifications for the entire globe, but especially people who are already marginalized, people who live on the margins. You see what happened with the fires. Let's look at Altadena. Scientists have already connected climate change and global warming with these increased fires that we're having in California. Now, California is naturally predisposed to fires because of a lot of different conditions, even before 100 years ago, there were fires in Los Angeles. And it's a way, actually, for the forests to be cleaned out and to be made anew so that new growth can come. There's a natural desire to even have fires. But what we're seeing now is not natural. It is a byproduct of the way that we use fossil fuel energy in ways that we shouldn't, that impact the entire globe. And Donald Trump and his cronies, who wish for their portfolios to grow, are dead set on using more fossil fuels. They're completely ignoring the Green New Deal, talking about abandoning that. And so we're in store for just some real troubled times. And it's important that we understand how these things will directly impact us in big ways.
Yeah. Well, pulling out of the Paris Accord on day one, which puts us in the company of like 3 countries. I think it's Yemen, Iran, and I can't remember what the other one is. But, not generally considered to be the most role model governments. Let me put it that way. And here we are. That's the company we're keeping. And he talks about the liquid gold under our feet, as if a return to fossil fuels will cut inflation and bring prosperity to all Americans. And some folks are buying that. But for me, it's just another indication that he's going to try to do all the stuff he talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always focusing, and one of the reasons that the LA Progressive exists is I was just so perplexed at why it is that major media, corporate media, doesn't cover stories in ways that break it down and make things understandable for the average person. It didn't occur to me 20 years ago that this was intentional. Like, it didn't occur to me 20 years ago that there was such a thing as planned obsolescence in the manufacturing sector. If you look at movies, I've never been to Cuba, and maybe you have been. I'm sure some of your listeners have been there.
Yes.
But if you look at Cuba, they always have all these wonderful 1950s cars, and they're still using them. But that's before planned obsolescence became a thing, where manufacturers design products that they intentionally want to become obsolete within a short period of time, which means that the consumer is going to have to go out and buy another one. So it didn't occur to me that, people were thinking like that. So I was naive, and just as I was naive about politics. And the more that I've written and the more that I've researched and published and edited, the LA Progressive has published more than 45,000 articles. It has shaped my consciousness and my awareness. And so not only is there planned obsolescence, there's planned precarity. And that's the thing that is just breaks my heart. And precarity is this notion that there should be a certain level of insecurity for the masses so that the masses will feel just lucky to have a job. So, and it's also one of the reasons I believe that healthcare, for the most part, is attached to your job. So you have to stay on your job so that you can have your good benefits. All of that is about planning control of the population. Well, we've got to take the reins of power back. I don't expect for people to read 45,000 articles. I didn't think I was going to. Mind you, I've done this like over an 18-year period. But you cannot understand and then have the tools in your toolbox to confront these issues until you really do a deep dive. Not necessarily 45,000 articles, but listen to your show, Dominique. Listen to Tavis's other lineup. Read progressive publications like the LA Progressive and others. There are many others, but you cannot get out of this situation without gaining some knowledge first.
Yep, we're talking with Sharon Kyle, and that sure is a great place to start. You can find the LA Progressive online and sign up, and she'll send you those 45,000 articles, at least one set of them per day, and eventually we'll be as well informed as Sharon Kyle. You're listening to, we do our part around here as well, I should say. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward. Now that Donald J. Trump has begun a second term as president, please join the Empowerment Congress and KBLA Talk 1580 to examine the question, where do we go from here? Chaos or democracy? At the Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. This Saturday, January 25th, some of LA's top elected officials, Representative Sidney Kamlager-Dove, Assembly members Isaac Bryan and Sade El-Hawari will be on hand for what promises to be a lively and informative conversation. Doors open at 8 a.m. The general session, moderated by Tavis Smiley and broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580, begins at 9 a.m. The event is free, but seating is limited. Registration is required. Go to the Empowerment Congress website at www.empowermentcongress.org to register. Where do we go from here? Chaos or democracy? Join the Empowerment Congress and KBLA Talk 1580 this Saturday, January 25th. Doors open at 8 a.m. The free program starts at 9 a.m. Registration is required at www.empowermentcongress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-511-2112. That's 800-511-2112. 800-511-2112.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
To our beloved greater Los Angeles community affected by the devastating wildfires, we stand with you. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, our hearts go out to those who've lost loved ones, homes, businesses, belongings, and precious memories. In these challenging times, we're here to keep you informed and connected. For the latest updates, resources, and ways to help your neighbors in need, stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580. Together, we'll rebuild. Together, we'll recover. Together, we are Los Angeles strong. KBLA Talk 1580. Your voice, your community, your station. The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And we're talking with Sharon Kyle. I'm so sorry that I ruined your Trump-free day. As a person that does this, I get it. One of the things that I was most dreading was having to listen to this dude every single day. And what did he make, like 3-4 speeches yesterday that just went on and on and on and on and on
and on.
And whatever the opposite of eloquent is, that's what that dude is.
Yeah, he is. But yet, he was sworn in yesterday as President of the United States.
Yep, absolutely.
So even though, yes, it is very hard to understand why people would vote for him, they did vote for him. And there are people that might make a strong argument that there was some tampering. Maybe that happened, but yet still millions of people voted for him. And this is a person who, to me, it appears that he has some degree of dementia. He absolutely cannot utter a complete sentence without lying. there's just so much about him, aside from the fact that he's a convicted felon and that he's already had to pay, or even though he's trying to get out of it, for his sexual assault. There's just so much about him that, anyway. But what I do want to say is that the people of this country are divided, but all of them are in danger economically. Some of the things that he's planning to do with tariffs, the things that he's working with Elon Musk, they're going to affect our pockets, and we need to be prepared. I was also mentioning the ACLU and some of the things that they're going to do to try to protect us immediately. One of my big concerns is his desire to use the Comstock Act to ban abortions nationwide. And I didn't know what the Comstock Act was when I first heard it, and it's an ancient, like 150-year-old piece of legislation that was written by this guy whose last name is Comstock, who had he had such an aversion to anything sexual that he got this anti-obscenity statute where the United States Postal Service couldn't carry any information that had of a sexual nature. Well, the Comstock Act is now being twisted to include birth control. That's the plan. So we already know that he's seeking a ban on abortion nationwide, but it is slipping, and what we call mission slip is happening here. Trump is trying to put controls on what birth controls women will be able to use. And this, to me, this is monumental, especially for young women who oftentimes aren't as active politically. I get it. You're young, you're in college, or you're in high school, or you're just starting your career. You've got kids, perhaps. You've got a busy life, and maybe politics isn't part of it. I remember when the abortion ban first happened, and there were young women being interviewed who were pregnant at the time who had no clue that this was even up on the chopping block. And now they found themselves in a situation that their powers were taken away from them.
Yeah. Yeah, their options, their powers. That is, it's chilling because in the past when we'd hear, well, you're being hyperbolic, you're being hysterical. They're not really going to do that. Hopefully we learned the lesson from Roe versus Wade. But continuing our unpacking, the reason I was talking about, listening to that dude is because it is true. If you watched him yesterday signing those executive orders, which it kind of seemed like they were telling him what they were for the first time, he acted like he had almost no familiarity. But anyway, the press was downright docile. And that is really telling, too, because the press corps, typically any president, they're screaming out questions. They're all, yelling over each other. They are scared of him.
They are. And not just the press.
Yeah. But,
right. Electeds are afraid of him.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it, the press being scared, I think it's going to be a really different reaction, a really different way of covering him. I think that the press, although they may have been less scared last time, they also did give him a lot of admiration, adoration, and grace. It feels like this time people are afraid, and, a la Morning Joe going over there to kiss his butt, a la you're seeing people backing off of their positions. Oh, we need to work with him. Maybe he's not so bad. And so that docile press really worried me a bit.
It certainly is something to be concerned about because from my stance, it looks like the press is concerned about the lawsuit that Trump brought against, I believe it was ABC. But there's two things happening with the corporate press. They're concerned about being sued, but they're also concerned that their over coverage of Donald Trump. There's for the past 8 years, you cannot listen to the news or read the news without Donald Trump coming in there. And perhaps that over-coverage has been what's given him so much access to the public, to people who wouldn't even normally be engaged in the political sphere.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I think it makes outlets like KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive that much more important, which is at least we, we still have to have corporate sponsors, but at least we have that independence of ownership and independence of distribution.
Exactly. And the LA Progressive, your outlet, literally thousands of other outlets, small independent outlets, they do work to provide the kind of information that people need to be able to make informed decisions. But sadly, my concern is people like Elon Musk and others who have so much control on social media, they can do damage to independent media with their control of social media.
Well, yep, it's a great point. I mean, so far I've stayed on X because I like to see what they're talking about. I like to track the crazy, but I can only take it in really small doses because there's so much stuff that's just wrong and not true that are actually being tweeted by Musk himself. And it can be a bit overwhelming, like sweeping the beach. How do you impact this mis and disinformation when it's coming so fast and so furious from the owners of platforms that millions of people utilize? We're talking with LA Progressive publisher and editor Sharon Kyle, and you're invited in 800-920-1580. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Dr. Bernice King found it wonderful that Inauguration Day coincided with Martin Luther King Jr. Day as it reminds us of her father's legacy. She urges Americans to focus on MLK's goal of nonviolence, especially those unhappy with President Trump's election. President Trump signed an executive order dismantling federal DEI policies. He hinted at future actions targeting private sector DEI efforts, potentially affecting federal funding and contracts. Governor Kathy Hochul attended Martin Luther King Day events in New York City, but Mayor Eric Adams skipped them after a last-minute invitation to President Trump's inauguration. And Coca-Cola debuted a custom Diet Coke bottle for Trump's inauguration, marking the first Diet Coke commemorative bottle in a 20-year tradition. Trump, known for his love of Diet Coke, was pictured holding the bottle last week. I'm Bree Wood on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
Shop limited time deals during Lowe's Pro Savings Days. Get a free adjustable stand when you buy a DeWalt 12-inch miter saw. That's a $229 value. Valid 1/13 through 1/24 while supplies last.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 1 in the country, played in the Coretta Scott King Classic Monday in Newark, New Jersey. The game was part of activities in Newark honoring the national holiday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. UCLA beat Baylor 72-57 to remain undefeated at 18-0. Bruin center Lauren Betts had 24 points, 9 rebounds, and a school record 9 block shots. The Chicago Bulls snapped the Clippers' 4-game winning streak. 112-99 was the final. Former UCLA star Zach LaVine dropped 35 for Chicago. The Lakers are back in action tonight at Crypto.com against the Washington Wizards. LeBron was in Atlanta last night to watch Ohio State beat Notre Dame for the Division I College Football National Championship. LeBron, a longtime fan of Ohio State University, had a luxury suite at Mercedes-Benz Stadium to cheer on his favorite college. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is Taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
Want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with Dayquil VapoCool. It's Dayquil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let Mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is Dayquil VapoCool.
Dayquil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
And by everybody, we mean you. I'm so happy to have Sharon Kyle with me today. She's the editor and publisher of the LA Progressive, and she's on the board of ACLU. Sharon, you mentioned, and I don't want to lose track of this thread, you mentioned that a lot of the moves that the MAGA agenda is putting front and center day one and planning for the future will impact us in bread and butter ways. Those folks who voted because of supposedly the price of eggs or whatever it might be are actually not likely to be happy with these outcomes. I'm wondering about why on day one, via executive order, Trump would roll back the Biden-Harris rule that made drug costs lower for most Americans. It's rescinding an order that was meant to, make drugs cost less. Prescription drugs, Executive Order 14087. What's the calculus there?
I would think that if we had insight, visibility into the portfolios of our decision makers, we'd have one of the necessary elements that we need to answer that question. What Trump has demonstrated for his entire life is that he's motivated by a couple of things. Obviously, one is fame. He loves to have his name out there and his face out there. But the second thing is making money. And the making money part, and this is what so many people seem to miss, the making money part is for him and his cronies to make money off of us, the masses. I believe that in the United States, it should be illegal to have billionaires. When you have this much power concentrated in the hands of so few people, it really diminishes and, in my opinion, makes democracy impossible.
So you're saying they should, being a billionaire should be illegal. You're not saying billionaires in government. You're saying no one should have $1 billion.
no one should have $1 billion. $1 billion. Like, we have a minimum wage. I think that we should, right?
A maximum
we should
wage?
Have a maximum. No, I'm not joking.
I know
do
you're
think
not.
so.
I know you're not, and I'm laughing because you sound like Generation A. You sound like a teenager. But I mean, I can. You know what? I understand that conceptually, and I don't know what the cap is. I think there should be some kind of cap. I don't know if it's $1 billion, $5 billion, $10 billion, but certainly you don't need $1 trillion. And why would you even want it? That's more than you can spend in your whole life. And we're looking at Elon Musk is closing in on being the world's first trillionaire.
That's right. That's right. He is. And so your question, why would you even want it? You clearly don't want it because you'd even be able to spend it in your lifetime. You want it for power, and you want to thwart the efforts of democracy. You know, I was looking at some of the executive orders and the things that Trump says that he's going to address, like day one or at least month one. So much of it has to do with trade and tariffs and mining and energy. He wants to declare a national energy emergency, a first in U.S. history, which could unlock new powers to suspend certain environmental rules to expedite permitting of mining projects. Now, what do we know about Elon Musk? His initial money came from mining in South Africa. For those who don't know, you know, he was born in South Africa. And that's where his family's money came from, is mining, with our people doing the labor and his people getting the profits.
Yeah.
And so now Trump wants to declare a national energy emergency to unlock certain environmental rules so that they can just go hog wild doing the mining. He's attempting to reverse the offshore, Biden's ban on offshore drilling. There's just so much that has to do
That's going to be a little harder, though, right? I mean, that one's harder to reverse. And that was one of the smart moves that Biden made on the way out the door, was protecting the California coastline and actually miles and miles of coastline. Speaking of coastline, did you see Hillary Clinton cracking up when he said it's going to be the Gulf of America?
Oh, my God.
That was a moment of levity.
I haven't dug into that. Why is he doing that?
Right.
Everything that he does, you know, he does for a reason. And it usually is a reason that's going to affect his or his friends' pockets or their fame. So I want to find out more about this Gulf of America, what's driving that.
To me, it's because I think it's because it's low-hanging fruit. It's something he could actually probably do, and it's red meat for his base. That's what I think. I think it makes his base feel like he's doing what he said he was going to do, because some of them that are less educated will think, see, now it's the Gulf of America. We took that from Mexico. Like, that's a win. Like, you know what I mean? It's something that looks like a win to people that don't know things.
Yeah. I'm looking at a list here of things that he said he's going to do immediately, and one of them is to grant top secret security clearances to White House staff without going through the traditional vetting procedures,
right?
Which is really what he did in 2016 with Jared and Ivanka. I think Jared never went through the vetting because he was rejected, and he ended up just having more responsibilities even than anybody else in the White House, even though he couldn't get fully vetted through the security.
And getting billions from the Saudis on top of that.
Well, that's the objective, right? That's the reason that they're there. They are not there to govern, and they're not there for the benefit of the people. They're for the benefit of themselves.
Marco Rubio is Secretary of State. He's been sworn in.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that was his easiest confirmation. But based on what we've seen so far, I'm not optimistic that the Senate is going to stop even some of the most ridiculous of these nominees, including RFK, even though he just withdrew the United States from the World Health Organization. Anyway. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, look at Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
Now, Pete Hegseth, if he is confirmed as Secretary of Defense, He's going to be the CEO of basically an organization of 3 million people. This person who has never managed anything more than 100, and I think even 100 people is a stretch, but in he had 2 opportunities to lead in 2 nonprofits, and in both he was accused of malfeasance, of basically being a poor manager and thrown out. And in addition to that, his terrible reputation with being a sexual predator. His own mother wrote a letter, which the New York Times released, and I covered it in a piece by the LA Progressive, where she's urging him to get help because of his lack of respect, his abuse of women, and sexual assault within the ranks of the military for female officers and for female rank-and-file members of the military is rampant.
Yeah.
It's
and the thing that stresses me out, I should say a little bit about this. Maybe stresses is the wrong word, but when I hear the senators interviewing these folks and they're like Hegseth, who's now saying he's not against women in the military, why would they think they wouldn't lie? The Supreme Court nominees lied. Trump's Supreme Court nominees lied, and they said that Roe was settled law, and then they quickly overturned it. So why wouldn't Hegseth lie and say, oh, yeah, no, I'm good with women in the military. I just don't want them unjustly promoted. You mean like you are? And then why would I believe anything you say? You're trying to get a job, and we've already accepted the fact that Supreme Court justices who are supposed to be above reproach lied during their Senate hearings.
Absolutely. But I tell you one thing that happened yesterday that has nothing to do with Trump, that does have to do with Biden, that made me happy. And that is that Leonard Peltier was finally, his sentence was commuted. After 50 years, or almost close to 50 years, Leonard Peltier was granted clemency, and he was allowed to return home. He has to serve out the remainder of his years under home confinement. There was no pardon for his crimes, but at least he's out.
Alleged supposed crime. Yeah, this is right. a indigenous Native American activist who has been in prison for 50 years, clearly a political prisoner. And I guess I was really happy to see that too. I guess that's pardon light. You still have to serve out your time, and there's no actual exoneration, but you can get out of prison. He's 80, by the way.
80 years old. Yeah, 80 years old. So it's a sort of a compassionate release. But he's still confined. He's confined to his home. Sadly, the same. I was hoping that he was going to do Mumia Abu-Jamal as well, but he did not.
Now, I wasn't sure he could do. Isn't Mumia in state?
Oh, actually, he is. That's right. He is. But he could have at least called attention to it.
Yeah, that's true.
You're right.
And I wish he would have done Marilyn Mosby. That's what I thought he might, because the NAACP and all these other folks have been calling for it, but he did not. He spent that time pardoning everybody in his whole family. We'll continue our conversation with LA Progressive Sharon Kyle when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
The holidays can be a time of increased stress for those struggling with opioid or stimulant addiction. They can also be a time for pause, reflection, opportunity, and new beginnings. This holiday season, choose treatment and recovery. Embrace the company of family and friends and create special moments. Find a proven opioid or stimulant addiction treatment provider near you at choosechangeca.org.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though?
What make you? Yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Sharon Kyle, LA Progressive. There's a couple of people, some bunch of folks actually, that want to talk to you. But before we get to that, tell us how to sign up for you, support the work you're doing now more than ever. Publications like the LA Progressive are so important.
Thank you so much, Dominique. And anyone that's interested in reading the LA Progressive can just go to laprogressive.com, subscribe or not. We offer our content without any of the barriers. So you will read and nothing will pop up and say you must subscribe. But we do have a pop-up that asks you if you would subscribe. And if you choose not to offer any payment, we still want you to read the content. You can also find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. We have a weekly podcast. Anywhere where you listen to your podcast, you will find the LA Progressive.
And
so just Google LA Progressive. You're going to find us everywhere, on all social medias as well.
And you definitely make good on your word. I mean, there's so many articles in there from so many different progressive thinkers. And most of them are not super duper long or super duper, burdensome to read. I mean, so let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. Yes. We've got
try to do.
We've got my reportedly independent voting caller Fred on the phone. Good morning, Fred.
Hello, Dominique. I thank you for taking my call. 3 points, and I'm very fast as usual. If I were defending the 14th Amendment, or I were to defend it, my legal position would be the 14th Amendment was written for the freed American slaves and their descendants.
Okay.
And not other
Point one.
people.
Point two.
Yeah. Remain in Mexico policy. I personally would build the border wall from the Gulf up whatever to the Pacific Ocean. I was a heavy equipment operator and a heavy-duty truck driver along the way. Hold on.
Sorry. I'm letting you have the mic, but you don't get to tell me to hold on. Go ahead, Fred. Point three.
Oh, thank you. And as far as you guys never answered the question, 10,000 people a day try to cross the southern border. Mexico lets those people in, plus the people that come in through airports and other ways. So now that we got the border wall done and the border patrol patrolling that, how many people would you people like to let in?
Okay, thank you, Fred. 10,000 people a day. So Fred is saying that it's Mexico's job to secure our border, apparently, since he's saying they let in 10K a day. He says he would build a wall. Apparently, they're doing that, so you should be happy, I guess. They didn't get it built last time. They grifted off of it, but they didn't build it. And then the third point about the 14th Amendment is one I would love to have you address, Sharon, because he's saying that amendment, 14th Amendment was only meant for black people, and I'm pretty sure that's not how the Constitution works.
Right. So I think you just answered that. That is not how the Constitution works. Although the 14th Amendment it came to be because of the slaves, but the Constitution works for everyone. But I want to talk about this border wall and the people that are coming to the United States, particularly those that are coming from south of the border. I believe that we should look at the source of the reason. I came to California in 1975, and we didn't have all of these people coming to California. This sudden explosion was directly related to our trade agreements and the unfairness of our trade agreements and our intentional decision to get rid of the farmers in Mexico to take their crops and to overrun them with our crops. So people that were able to live on what they were farming were no longer able to do that. And that's what drives a lot of our immigration, whether it's immigration with people that have documents or people that don't have documents. It's about labor. That's the whole purpose for our immigration policies, is to bring labor here to the United States. And we turn the valve on and off depending on what works best for us. But we drive these people to come here.
I mean, I would argue that there's been some natural disasters, but also that our interventions and meddling in some of these countries and our nation's almost insatiable appetite for drugs, which are being serviced by these drug cartels, and our exportation of the gang culture, which is clearly documented, where now these cartels and gangs like the MS-13, which originated in Los Angeles and was spread to Central America, are also making people flee from their own countries.
You bring up two really important points, Dominique. We need to take a holistic look at this instead of looking at this simplified version that America is this city on the hill, the shining city on the hill, American exceptionalism nonsense.
Yeah. Professor Golden says, you notice they don't say anything about Major League Baseball. I assume he's talking about the immigrants that come to play that sport. Let's go to Shayon calling us from Long Beach. Good morning, Shayon.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me start with the 14th Amendment. And most people have not read the Dred Scott case. I am a Moor. Been telling y'all we Moors. We studied the Dred Scott case backwards and forwards. That 14th Amendment came about precisely after the Taney Court ruled that Negroes are slave property, not citizens and not persons. I can quote the Dred Scott case, but I'm not going to do that. And Judge Taney also said in that case that the words in the Constitution have the exact same meaning and intent as they did when the framers put the words in there. And to understand the legal reasoning for those words in the Constitution and in that 14th Amendment, you have to read the Federalist Papers, number 54, James Madison. And he says in that document, in the Federalist Papers, that the word slave, that Negro, means slave. So when they put that, that the word person means slave, that's in the
Okay, Shayon, both you and Fred are guilty of... Hold on. Both you and Fred are guilty of calling me in the last 5 minutes of the hour with these theories, and you're always welcome, but if you have something longer to say, it's better to call earlier. So go ahead and land for me, Shayon, if you would.
Hey, I'm going to land by saying this. I'm not telling you a theory. I've read it. I personally read the Dred Scott case. I personally read...
I'm not saying the Dred Scott case is your theory, but you're telling us why you think it's relevant right now.
No, because that 14th Amendment supposedly had made Negroes, ex-slaves, citizens of the United States. And when they're talking about birthright citizenship, that's the basis of it. It ain't have nothing to do Roe versus Wade had nothing to do with same-sex marriage.
We talked about that earlier in the hour. Okay, thank you, Shayon. I mean, you're always reading. I'll give you that, and all of us could do a lot more of that. Sharon Kyle, your response to what Shayon is saying about the 14th Amendment?
Well, I think what Shayon is talking about is originalism, and there are many people that stand by the Constitution as it was written in its original form. And then there are those who I feel have an equal right to interpret the words of the Constitution, because the Constitution in their minds and in mine is a living document. But I think that what Shayla is saying, I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. What you're saying is legitimate in many legal corners, and it's important that we read all these documents. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a great point. We had so much to cover. I'm going to have to lure you back in for another not Trump-free day, but we've got a minute and a half here. Sharon, of all the millions and, thousands of things we observed on yesterday, anything else you want to talk about, or what would you like to leave us with?
I just want to leave you with the notion that Trump chose to have the inauguration in the Capitol Rotunda because of weather. Obviously, that was not the reason. The Rotunda seats 800 people, and they looked so uncomfortable. Thank you, Dominique, for forcing me to watch the inauguration. I got to watch 800 people being crowded into that rotunda. But basically, he was so ashamed that Barack Obama's 1.8 million people, he was never, ever going to be able to match that. And so he said for weather reasons, which was in the 20s, it was cold outside, but there have been many other inaugurations that were conducted outdoors in temperatures that were much colder than yesterday's.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to use that Melania hat trick if I ever, go out with someone that I don't want to actually have access to kissing me.
Oh my God.
He couldn't get under that brim.
I mean, he can't get into a whole lot of other spaces, I suppose, too.
Sharon Kyle, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Artist extraordinaire Martine Sims is here. She's going to share her art and her family story in Altadena. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Dr. Bernice King found it wonderful that Inauguration Day coincided with Martin Luther King Jr. Day, as it reminds us of her father's legacy. She urges Americans to focus on MLK's goal of nonviolence, especially those unhappy with President Trump's election. President Trump signed an executive order dismantling federal DEI